Marcus thought he was ahead. He had a steady income. He had no credit card debt. He had that 401k he'd been contributing to for over a decade. He had no credit card debt. He had a 401k he'd been contributing to for over a decade. He had a savings account at the same bank where he'd had a checking account since college. He wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. He wasn't making panicked financial decisions. He was, by the standards of most people he knew, doing fine. The problem with doing fine is that fine has a ceiling. Fine has a ceiling. The moment Marcus actually sat down with someone who understood money, not a financial advisor trying to sell him products, but a friend who worked in wealth management, was the moment everything changed. They agreed to just talk honestly over dinner one evening. Marcus realized he had been playing a game with 4 pieces on the board, while everyone else who was actually building wealth was playing with 11. Everyone else who was actually building wealth was playing with 11. Something quietly devastating settled over Marcus at that dinner table. He had a checking account, he had a savings account, he had his 401k. That was it. 3 accounts. 3 financial containers to hold every aspiration he had about his future. The people quietly pulling away from him in terms of net worth weren't smarter. They weren't earning dramatically more. They were just using more of the tools that had always been available to Marcus too. Tools nobody had ever sat him down and named. The people building wealth weren't smarter. They were just using more of the available tools. This video is that dinner conversation. I'm going to name all 7 accounts. 7 accounts. What each one does that the others can't. Why having all 7 working simultaneously is the structural difference between building real wealth and simply not being broke. Having all 7 working simultaneously is the structural difference between building real wealth and simply not being broke. Real wealth is an interconnected structure, not a single savings account. We're going to stay with Marcus the whole way through because his story doesn't end at 37. His story gets a lot more interesting from here. Marcus at 37, looking toward a more complex and exciting financial roadmap ahead. The first account is the one almost everyone has and almost everyone is using wrong. The checking account. Marcus had one. You almost certainly have one. The checking account is a transaction account. It is the pipe money flows through, not the tank where money lives. It is the pipe money flows through, not the tank where money lives. The checking account is a transaction account, not storage. Keeping more than 1 month of essential expenses in your checking account is a form of financial waste. Checking accounts at traditional banks earn between 0 and 0.01% interest annually. Every dollar sitting in your Chase or Bank of America checking account above what you need for this month's bills is earning essentially nothing. Inflation quietly erodes its value every single day. Marcus had been keeping on average about $8,400 in his checking account at any given time. That felt safe to him. That felt like having a cushion. What it actually was, over the 14 years since he opened the account, was a slow, quiet destruction of purchasing power. He never noticed because the number never got smaller, but its value did. Stable account balances can still lose real value, and most people never realize it. The checking account should be lean. Fund it for the month. Automate transfers out. That's its entire job. Automate transfers out of checking and into smarter accounts. The checking account is a simple utility tool inside a larger wealth-building system, nothing more. The second account is the one most people have but almost nobody is using correctly. Not a savings account at your existing bank, a high-yield savings account at an online institution. Ally SoFi Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Discover any FDIC-insured online bank offering competitive rates. Marcus moving money from a brick-and-mortar savings account into a modern online banking platform. The best high-yield savings accounts are offering between 4.5 and 5.1% annual percentage yield. The national average savings rate at traditional banks is 0.46%. That is not a small difference. On a $20,000 emergency fund, the difference between a traditional savings account and a high-yield savings account is roughly $900 per year in interest. Every year, for doing nothing differently except where you keep the money. Marcus had his savings at the same bank as his checking. He'd never moved it because it had never occurred to him that he should. The bank had never once suggested he might be better served elsewhere. This is not a coincidence. Banks profit from the spread between what they pay you in interest and what they earn lending your deposits. Banks profit from the spread between what they pay you and what they earn lending your deposits. Traditional banks collect profits, while customers unknowingly accept low savings rates. Keeping you unaware of better options is, in a quiet sense, the business model. Marcus opened a high-yield savings account on a clean online banking interface late at night. The third account is where Marcus's story from the previous chapter continues and where it needs to go further. The Roth IRA. After-tax contributions, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals in retirement. After-tax contributions go in, tax-free money comes out in retirement. $7,000 per year in 2024. Open at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab in under 15 minutes tonight. Invest in a total market index fund with an expense ratio under 0.05% and never look at it for 30 years. A Roth IRA, quietly compounding untouched over 30 years, becomes one of the most powerful tools in personal finance. Marcus didn't have one of these when we last checked in on him. He was starting to understand why that mattered. But the Roth IRA is still only account 3, and there are 4 more that he was completely missing. The fourth account is the one that most employees are actively eligible for and actively ignoring. To open one, you need to be enrolled in a high-deductible health plan. In 2024, the contribution limits are $4,150 for individuals and $8,300 for families. The HSA is the only account in the entire American financial system that gives you a triple tax advantage. Contributions go in pre-tax, the money grows tax-free, withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are completely tax-free. No other account does all 3. Not the 401k, which taxes you on the way out, not the Roth IRA, which taxes you on the way in. No other financial account combines all 3 tax advantages. The HSA does none of that for any dollar used on qualifying medical expenses. Once your HSA balance exceeds a certain threshold, most HSA accounts allow you to invest the excess in index funds, exactly like a brokerage account. HSA contributions invested into low-cost index funds grow tax-free for decades. You pay for current medical expenses out of pocket, keep the receipts, and let the HSA balance compound tax-free for decades. Pay current medical expenses out of pocket while the HSA compounds untouched. There is no time limit on HSA reimbursements. The receipt you have from a doctor's visit in 2024 can be used to make a tax-free withdrawal in 2044. Anytime in the future, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, you can reimburse yourself for those old medical expenses tax-free and penalty-free. This effectively transforms the HSA into a stealth retirement account with a medical reimbursement feature. Marcus had been enrolled in a traditional PPO health plan his entire career because his HR department had listed it first on the options page and he'd never compared. He had no HSA, he had been eligible for years. The fifth account is the one that most people think is only for the wealthy, and it is not. The taxable brokerage account. After you have fully funded your Roth IRA and captured the full employer match, any additional money you want to invest goes here. There are no contribution limits, there are no income restrictions. You can put in $50 or $50,000. Long-term capital gains, profits on investments held for more than 1 year, are taxed at 0, 15, or 20% depending on your income. Compare that to ordinary income tax, which for someone in the middle of the income spectrum runs between 22 and 24%. By holding investments for the long term and letting them appreciate before selling, you are effectively paying a lower tax rate than you pay on your salary. This is one of the core mechanics of how wealth actually compounds for people who are building it intentionally. Marcus had no taxable brokerage account. He had assumed that accounts like this were for people with much more money than him. They are not. They are for anyone with any amount of extra money above their tax advantage limits. The account has no minimums at Fidelity. None. You can open one with the $7 currently sitting in your PayPal balance. The sixth account is one that most people with children are criminally underusing. The 529 Education Savings Account. Contributions are made with after-tax dollars. The money grows tax-free. Withdrawals used for qualified education expenses, tuition fees, room and board, books, computers, are completely tax-free. In 35 states, contributions are also deductible on your state income tax return. An immediate partial tax benefit on top of the long-term tax-free growth. As of 2024, under the Secure 2.0 Act, any funds in a 529 that go unused for education can be rolled over into a Roth IRA for the account beneficiary, up to $35,000 over a lifetime. A 529 open for a child today if unused for college, becomes a head start on a Roth IRA. Up to $35,000 over a lifetime can roll from a 529 directly into a Roth IRA. Marcus had a daughter. She was 11. He had $0 in a 529. He'd been telling himself he'd start one once he felt more financially stable. Not starting it was one of the things keeping him from feeling stable. The account he didn't open was the account that would have reduced the single largest upcoming expense of his life. A 529 account reduces the burden of future education expenses. The earlier it's opened, the more it does. The seventh account is the one almost no one under 40 has thought about, and it is the one that separates people who are wealthy at 65 from people who are still working at 65. This is not a different platform from account 5. It is a different purpose, a separate allocation inside your taxable brokerage account, specifically in dividend-paying index funds or ETFs. Funds like VYM, SCHD, or VIG hold hundreds of companies with strong histories of paying and growing their dividends annually. Hundreds of dividend-paying companies depositing passive income into your account. The dividends are deposited into your account on a quarterly basis. You reinvest them automatically while you are accumulating. Not rental properties with maintenance calls and vacancy rates and property management fees. Passive dividend income flows smoothly while property maintenance chaos fades entirely into the background. At some point in the future, retirement, semi-retirement, or earlier, you stop reinvesting and start living on them. At a 3.5% dividend yield, a $500,000 allocation generates approximately $17,500 per year in dividend income. That number grows every year as the companies raise their dividends, as they have historically done at an average rate of 6 to 8% annually. You don't sell a single share. The portfolio itself remains intact. You are living on the income generated by the businesses you own, the same way a landlord lives on rent without selling the building. Marcus had never once thought about dividends. He knew vaguely that some stocks paid them. He did not understand that a person could build an entire income stream from them. Here is where Marcus stands now, at 37, after that dinner conversation. He has 2 of the 7 accounts. He is missing 5. 7 account slots, only 2 currently filled. The 5 he's missing aren't exotic financial instruments. They are accounts available to virtually every working adult in the United States. At no cost. At institutions he's already heard of, that he can open on his phone before he goes to sleep tonight. This is the part that made Marcus quiet at the end of dinner. Not angry, not overwhelmed, quiet. He wasn't bad with money. He'd never been bad with money. He just had an incomplete map. An incomplete map, unfolding now into a much larger detailed blueprint. So here is the sequence. Here is the order that makes this actionable instead of overwhelming. Step 1. Open a high-yield savings account this week and move everything above 1 month of expenses out of your traditional savings account. Move everything above 1 month of expenses out of your traditional savings account and into it. You are not changing your behavior. You are not changing how much you save. You are changing where that money sits while it waits. Choose Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, SoFi, or Discover. All 4 are FDIC insured. All 4 are currently offering rates above 4.5%. The application takes 10 minutes. The transfer takes 1 to 3 business days. From that moment forward, your savings earns more every single month than it did the month before. Step 2. Open a Roth IRA tonight and set up a monthly automatic contribution. Open your Roth IRA at Fidelity or Vanguard, select a total market index fund, and set up an automatic monthly contribution. If $7,000 per year feels like too much to commit to right now, divide it by 12. That's $583 per month. If that's too much, start at $100 per month. The account being open and funded at any level is categorically different from the account not existing. You cannot retroactively contribute to years you missed. Step 3. Check whether your employer offers a high-deductible health plan and run the real comparison. Don't just look at the monthly premium. Calculate your total annual cost under both plans. Calculate your total annual cost, including premiums, your expected out-of-pocket expenses, and the value of the HSA contribution you could make. Many people who have never seriously compared find that the HDHP plus HSA combination is actually cheaper on an annual basis. Once you account for the pre-tax HSA contribution reducing your taxable income, if the numbers favor the HDHP, Switch at your next open enrollment. Open an HSA, fund it to the limit. Invest the balance above your deductible in index funds. Keep your receipts. Step 4. Open a taxable brokerage account and fund it with whatever is left after your Roth IRA is fully funded each year. Fund it with whatever is left after your Roth IRA is fully funded each year. Allow the two accounts to grow in parallel, the Roth IRA and the taxable brokerage working side by side. Open it at the same institution as your Roth IRA to keep everything visible in one place. Invest in the same low-cost index funds you're using inside the Roth. Over time, as your income grows and your other financial obligations reduce, the taxable brokerage account is where the excess flows. The bulk of your compounding wealth ultimately accumulates here. Step 5. Open a 529 for any child you have or plan to have, even if you start with $50. Open a 529 for any child you have, even if you start with $50. The tax-free compounding advantage of the 529 begins the day you open the account, not the day you make a large contribution. Set up the smallest automatic contribution you can commit to without feeling it, $25 per month, $50 per month, and let time do what time does. Set up a modest recurring contribution and let time do what time does. Time quietly multiplies small education contributions through long-term compounding. Increase the contribution when you get a raise. The account will handle the rest. A 529 account steadily growing in the background of your daily life, quietly solving a future problem. Step 6. Inside your taxable brokerage account, allocate a portion specifically to dividend-focused index ETFs and set all dividends to reinvest automatically. Simply take a portion of what you're contributing to the taxable brokerage and direct it into a dividend ETF like SCHD or VYM. Dividend ETF tickers like SCHD and VYM displayed on a clean brokerage interface. Let the dividends reinvest automatically. Watch the share count grow every quarter as those dividends buy more shares, which produce more dividends, which buy more shares. This is the compounding loop that, given enough time, becomes completely self-sustaining. You are building a machine that pays you. You are building it one quarterly dividend at a time. Quarterly dividend deposits stacking quietly while Marcus sleeps. The dividend share count grows larger each quarter on the portfolio dashboard. Passive income gradually replacing the need to actively sell investments later in life. Step 7. Set a calendar reminder for January of every year labeled Account Audit and spend 1 hour reviewing all 7 accounts. A yearly calendar reminder labeled Account Audit January. Spend 1 focused hour reviewing all 7 accounts. First, confirm that your high-yield savings rate is still competitive because rates change and you should be willing to move. Compare updated online savings rates from different FDIC-insured institutions. Confirm your Roth IRA contribution for the year. Verify that your HSA is invested above the minimum threshold. Review your 529 balance and increase contributions if possible. Check that your taxable brokerage allocation hasn't drifted from your target. Rebalance if necessary. Confirm your dividend reinvestment is still active. That is the entire review. 1 hour, 12 months of confidence from 1 hour of attention. Marcus did all of this, not in one night, in 1 month. He opened the high-yield savings account in the first week. He opened the Roth IRA in the second week. He ran the HDHP numbers during week 3 and switched at the next open enrollment window. He opened the taxable brokerage in week 4 and funded it with $200. He opened the 529 for his daughter with $50 and set up a $75 monthly automatic contribution. Nothing about his income changed. Nothing about his discipline changed. What changed was the structure around his money. The containers his money moved through, the places it lived, the accounts that were silently working on his behalf in the background of his daily life. 1 year later, Marcus had an HSA with $3,800 in it invested in index funds. He had a Roth IRA that had grown to $9,400. He had a taxable brokerage account that had received $2,400 in contributions. He had a 529 with $1,050 in it, growing tax-free for a girl who was now 12. She had no idea her father had quietly changed the trajectory of her financial future over 4 weeks in a month she'd never remember. He still had the same checking account. He still had the same job. But he was no longer playing with 2 pieces on the board. 7 interconnected accounts working together like a coordinated wealth-building system. The number of accounts you hold is the literal infrastructure of how money grows, how taxes get minimized, how risk gets distributed, and how future versions of you get funded by decisions the current version of you makes this week. Marcus looked calmly confident after finally understanding the infrastructure of wealth building. Most people have 2, sometimes 3. Ordinary workers using only 2 or 3 accounts while advanced financial systems remain completely unused beside them. Marcus unlocking additional account spaces one by one until the board is finally full. A single new account begins 12 months of compounding immediately after opening. The next step isn't complicated. It's just opening an account you've been meaning to open. Tonight, that account exists. Small, repetitive financial actions, quietly transforming long-term wealth over decades. Wealth building happens gradually through structure, not dramatically, not all at once. Marcus calmly watching his accounts compound in the background while everyday life continues around him. A financial game board, slowly filling one account at a time until every position is occupied. Marcus standing confidently in front of 7 glowing account icons connected together. A complete financial map spread across Marcus's dining table, with every major account finally visible. Multiple compounding streams flowing quietly toward Marcus's future retirement life. All 7 account dashboards together on a clean multi-monitor setup. Fragmented finances compared against fully structured wealth architecture. The difference is visible immediately. 1 year later, Marcus sat peacefully at dinner with visible financial confidence and clarity, reviewing long-term progress instead of short-term survival. Financial accounts functioning like interconnected engines powering Marcus's future freedom. Taxes shrinking while diversified financial containers continue growing efficiently. Marcus and his daughter walking together while educational and retirement savings grow symbolically behind them. Marcus carrying a full financial toolbox instead of only 3 basic banking accounts. Not dramatically, not all at once, just one account at a time until the board is full. A complete strategy board finally filled with all 7 financial pieces. That's how this works.